record. I asked him to do that, and he did. In general, transmitting from multiple sites is not legal. There are exceptions. One exception is the IARU radio sport when you are a headquarters station. Another exception might be if you're doing a special event like the ARRL 100th anniversary might be a good place to do that. It's legal to do it from an FCC point of view, but it's not legal in terms of most sponsors allowing it. So, but why are we suggesting that you do it? Well, with the coronavirus lockdown, a lot of sponsors are either eliminating the multi-op category or allowing the distributed multi-op. So this is for those cases where they are, or in the case where you are actually still transmitting from a central location, but you want an easy way to network the other stations in. Any questions about that? Somebody said something.
Yeah, this is Jerry. It's also the case of a distributed remote. For example, if all the transmitters are in one location, but you're controlling them from separate locations, like a K30. So logging is all done remotely, but the transmitters are in the same location.
Yes, that's what I was saying. That is correct. But that work of getting that part to work is on you. And I think K3Ss are good at that in various ways, but we're not going to cover that. We're going to do a quick demo of. No, I don't have the virus. I have a cold that I got from W3TJL's step-grandson 6 weeks ago at ARRLDX, and I still haven't shaken it. One thing. You can leave yourself on mute, and a lot of people don't know that the spacebar acts as a PTT. So you can hold the spacebar down. I will see if I can demo. I'm on mute, but I unmuted by pressing the spacebar. But since I'm doing a lot of talking, I will leave it off mute. Okay, so let's look at a normal networking screen. So I'm going to share the screen. And I presume everybody can see 3 windows, entry window, network window, and a log window. And normally what you do when you have all your computers in one location is you click on this, the network computer mode, and I have another computer set up with N1MM running, and it connects automatically. And that's because each computer, as it's sitting there, will send out a little message, and you'll see it up here in the status bar of the network status window. Well, so there it is, 2 stations in network, and there it is transmitting where I am, what IP address I'm on, to tell the other computers on the network how to connect to them. And what a VPN does for you, as opposed to trying to hook these up in the way documented in the manual, is it allows all the computers that are connected to look like they're on the same local network. If you do not do it this way, what you will have to do is you will have to go into the Actions tab and edit computer addresses and do something like Bob's big computer and put in 79.565.44.55, and that's an external IP address. And what that does is says, when you try to connect to Bob's big computer, you will have to go out on the internet on 79.65.44.55. It will go to Bob's big computer house. It will hit the router, and the router will say, you can't come in. So Bob will have to go to his router, and he will have to put in routing rules in the router that say, when someone comes in on a particular port, in this case 12070, send these packets to a particular computer in the computer network at Bob's house. There's a lot of detail in the documentation on how to do that, and trust me, it's not easy. So that's why we endeavored to find a VPN, not the best VPN, not the only VPN, but a VPN that was reasonably easy to configure, that would allow you to set up a VPN that will let you treat everything as a single network and get the advantage of having auto configuration, so you're not entering any IP addresses once you set it up. So I already have this set up on this side, and what Larry's going to do is show you how to set it up on another computer. So I'm going to stop sharing, and Larry, are you ready? You're on mute. Larry, you're on mute. There you go, Larry.
Okay, and I want to share that screen. Click share. Okay, I'm ready here. So Tom described a rather complicated process by which you have to manually create your own entries for the computers on the network. And the one detail he left out is not only do you have to do that on your PC, but every PC on the network has to similarly add all other PCs on the network. So it's not, you know, if you're a wizard and you're able to do that and you think, well, that's not tough. Well, the other 5 guys you're going to want to try and network with this weekend are going to have to do the same thing. So it's really quite a pain. And this new feature is an attempt to get around that and make this much easier. There were some links provided in the announcement of this meeting, and I'm just going to show you where stuff is. The first link was to the documentation, which I'm going to follow along with in this demo this morning. And that documentation is in the download section of the website in our additional support files. And it's listed here. They're in chronological order, and I changed this yesterday afternoon. I made some small edits to it. And it will probably change over time, and eventually it will lose its draft status. As the author, I would invite anybody that plays with the document and uses it and finds fault with it to give me some feedback, let me know, and we'll maintain the document as a live document as we go forward. So that's how you get to the document that I'm going to be following today. It's a PDF, so you should be able to see it on any device you own. That document contains a bunch of links, and in those links, it tells you how to do a couple things. One of them is to get to the Hamachi website and download the software, which is the Hamachi VPN software. I've already done that. I think you guys know how to download software, so I'm simply going to double click on the app. I've already downloaded the Hamachi installer. I'm going to double click. And again, we're taking this from scratch. This is a bare naked PC here. Hamachi's not installed. N1MM's installed, not in network mode, but Hamachi is not installed. So you get the software. What language do you want? You click next. There's an I have read thing that none of us ever read. You click next. It says, where do you want to put this thing, and do you want to create a group? Do you want a shortcut? I wanted a shortcut on the desktop, so I click that. It tries to sell you something else. And just as a brief aside, this company, LogMeIn, is a company with deep pockets, lots of venture capital funding, and they have been grabbing up and buying and aggregating lots of smaller companies that are doing over the network identity management, security, screen sharing, support software. So if you go to the LogMeIn website, you'll see lots of different programs. One of them is Hamachi. The reason we chose Hamachi is it starts with the word ham. That's the only reason we chose that guy. But they bought up Hamachi. Hamachi's been around for years. It's a well-regarded VPN software package. So I don't want to install LastPass. I'm just going to install Hamachi. So here we go. We're doing this in real time on a kick-around PC. This is one of the field day wannabe machines. You want to do this? Yeah, we want to do this, blah, 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 blah. Do I want to launch it? Yes, I do. Okay, so here's the Hamachi dialog window. And there's a button here, and this is how you would connect to a network for either the first time or subsequent connections. Offline, I'm going to click Let's Get Started. And it's going to ask me to log into a network. Now, in this case, Tom has set up the host machine for the VPN. So I know the LogMeIn ID. And I happen to know the password. And
Can I interject something here, Larry?
Go ahead, Tom.
This creates a mesh network, so everybody talks to everybody. So what you'll probably want to do is have your best IT guy set up the master Hamachi login, if you will, so he can control that. And this is what the non-IT guys would be doing. Go ahead, Larry.
Okay, and I just jumped ahead of myself. This is where you as an individual log in with your account. See the little thing here that says sign up? You can sign up for an account which is free, or in my case, I already have an account, so I'm going to log in as me. I think, did I just fumble finger that? We'll know in a minute. I did. It's thinking about it. Okay, now we get to the point where I connect to a network. So I have a couple of choices. I can become a host, I can create a network, or I can join an existing network. As I mentioned, Tom is the host for this network, so I'm going to say that I want to join his network. All right, so at this point, I would click the join button and I would then join this network. But rather than hitting this button, we're going to switch over to Tom. At this point, we're done installing. I'm done. It's installed.
Larry,
So
is that password, whose password is that?
Tom has provided that password. When Tom set up this VPN network as the host, he declared a password and he has shared that password with me. So to get on Tom's VPN, I have to know, first of all, the network ID and the password that he assigned to it.
Okay, thanks.
Good question. So Tom, do you want me to join the network and show what this dialog window looks like, or do you want to show the dialog window at your place?
I think we'd do it at my place.
Okay, so I'm going to surrender the screen at this point.
But what Larry's going to do, he's going to hit join, and then he's going to start up N1MM.
Yep.
But after I start sharing the screen. So I'm going to show you him joining the Hamachi network. After he joins the network, he's going to start up N1MM, and that's going to connect into the N1MM network.
So
Okay.
I'm going to stop sharing, and Tom's going to share.
Okay, over here on the left-hand side in the LogMeIn. By the way, we have a German guy on our team, KU7T, came from East Germany many years ago, and he had to be so conditioned to thinking in German. I kept reading this as LogMeIn, and it took me a long time to figure out, oh, that's LogMeIn. So Larry's going to show up. Click join, and we'll see you show up in this list. Oop, there's HP 8300, 25.135.150, but he is not yet in the network status window because he's not yet started N1MM and networking. So why don't you do that, Larry?
Okay, so N1MM is launching. And then in N1MM, I'm going to click on Window, Network Status, the way Tom showed us a minute ago. It says the computer mode is off. And all I'm going to do is click here to turn mode on. Click.
Networking mode.
Right. And you'll see how quickly I appear in Tom's machine.
Okay,
So
now that function is what we call auto configure. He didn't have to enter any IP addresses. Go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, so if you recall what Tom had to do before, if I'm the civilian who's trying to connect to the VPN, Tom is the host, but I'm just the guy, one of the ops. All I had to do was click twice. Once I clicked to join the VPN network, and the second time I clicked to enable networking in N1MM, and I'm now on the network. And we're passing packets back and forth, and I've got a log that looks like Tom's log. Go ahead, Tom.
Well, that's pretty much it. Is there anything else we were going to cover? Other than questions?
No, at this point, I think we were going to ask if folks wanted to ask questions. I will say, Tom, you were mentioning the fact that this is not real distributed multi is not legal and not supported by many contest sponsors. I have already heard from several stations that are going, their attitude is, well, field day is not a contest. And so all we're doing is trying to have fun, and they're going to submit the equivalent of a check log. And they want to take their club and have all their members hunker down in their own houses. I also heard from a number of people who are going to use distributed multi as a team effort in the same fashion for the 7QPE QSO party.
Yeah, but in that one, it is permitted.
That one, they're saying you can do this, right?
Yes, it's a special category.
Okay, my work.
Just remember, you have to use the same call sign.
That's right.
Yeah, I have questions.
Sure.
Yeah, this is Jerry W1VE. So I presume this is a new feature in the latest release, this auto configure. The VPN is only one of many potential addresses on the on your network, and when you add the login VPN address, it's just another address. So does now the auto configure look at all? Does it look at broadcasts from all the networks? How does it know which network to use?
Currently the code is written to look to see if there's an Hamachi network by looking at the name of the network adapter. If there is, instead of sending out the connection on 255. etc., it sends it out on 25.255.255.255. And that is sufficient on a Hamachi network to get everybody talking to each other.
Okay.
Whether that works for other networks, I don't know. That would be something to explore.
Well, that's what I want to test. And so, but my network card, I mean, I can send you an email and get the particulars, but I can make mine a 25.x network. But
well, so, what is your VPN? What does it show up as?
It's Soft Ether. Soft Ether is the name of the VPN. It's another free, pretty easy one, and I've been using it, but of course I had to manually configure the IP addresses. So this would be
hold on. What are the high order IP addresses that it configures?
Well, 192.168.137.x.
And the original does not auto configure for you.
No.
Well, I could try doing it specifically to 192, although that's what most networks are, is 192.
Right.
Are they on different subnets?
No, same subnet. Everybody's on the same subnet, and like I said, it doesn't have to be 192. I can pick the network address, anything I want. I can make it a 25 network and see if that works with the latest version.
No, it won't. It will not work.
Yeah, I'd be very interested in the results of that test. No,
it will not work. It will not work because it only does 25 if it sees that there's an Hamachi network.
Oh yeah, you do a search for Hamachi substream, don't
right.
you?
I didn't want to screw up too many things at one time.
No, I understand, Tom. I'm not, it's just, it's a very, very cool feature. I really like it. I just like.
Well, I can try converting from sending to 255.255 to 192.255 and see if that changes anything.
Okay, yeah. I mean, we can do a test version or whatever, and I can also, it's 2 seconds to, like Hamachi, to install their client, and I can give you access to a network just to see if it works. You know, we can test.
Well, if it's Hamachi, it does work. The point is whether soft ether will work with the default behavior. What I don't want to do is have everybody have to do special configurations. I want them to be able to do it as easy as it can be, whatever VPN you're using. And if soft ether's default is 192, then I would like to make it work with whatever the default configuration is.
Okay, cool. Thank you. You guys did a great job. This is really good.
We don't want to tell how to configure soft ether, Hamachi, and everybody's hardware router VPN.
Right.
There's just too much to do. Go ahead. Who's that?
Yeah, it's Fulvio from Switzerland, HP98G. I just want to add, maybe all others are already aware, but Hamachi is free for up to 5 computers. So if they want to join more than 5 computers, they need to register the Hamachi. It's not a really expensive cost, but just that they need to be aware of.
Thank you for that.
We forgot to mention that.
I was actually going to segue into that based on the soft ether, which is a freeware program. If you look at Tom's screen right now, look at the Hamachi dialog window, you'll see that there are four devices are listed. A couple of those were devices that I had connected with when we were experimenting, and they're not connected right now. You'll notice they're grayed out, but Hamachi remembers them. If Tom were to attempt to connect 2 more stations so that the list would contain 6, that 6th person would be denied. They would attempt to connect, and that attempt to connect would get spanked and would get a message on their screen saying the network is full. Tom can go into this list and eject the people who are not there, which would bring the list back down to only 3 people, himself and 2 others. And he could add 2 more. But at 5, you're stuck. You can't have more than the host and 4 others. There is a license available. The LogMeIn license, I think, is $50 a year, which is not a whole lot of money if you think about how many, if you're going to have 10 guys show up, have everybody kick in $5 and you're covered, that kind of thing. But Hamachi is a licensed product in groups over 5. So that's how it works. Thanks, Tom.
A question?
Sure.
I think just for clarity, we're going to try this for the Florida QSO party. And right now we have 12 people.
Okay.
But we'll probably never have more than 4 on at once. CW and single sideband, probably 40 and 80 or something like that. So I can go in and just bump out the other ones periodically. As long as it's not 5 active stations, we're okay.
Well, no, not 5 active, because see that those grayed out ones on Tom's screen are inactive. So it's just 5 listed stations, active or not.
Oh, okay, so I can bump out the unactive ones, but I have to get rid of them.
You have to get rid of them. You have to evict them.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's called evict. And for some reason, I can't find evict right now. So I've done it before, but I don't know why I can't do it now. But the guy who sets up the network, at least when I first set it up, was able to evict people from the network so that you could do what you wanted to do. And Steve said to everyone that it's $49 a year for up to 32 users. So you would be covered for $49. And rather than putting it on somebody to evict them and manage that the whole contest, I think it's probably worth the $49. Or if someone comes up with easy cookbook directions for soft ether or some other VPN, then use that. And we'll try to get that working.
If we can prove it works, Tom, I'll be happy to write the documentation.
Well, we were frankly pretty surprised at how easy it was to set this up. I mean, we did not open the books. We didn't read the manual. We just boom, 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 went through the process, and within the course of about an hour, Tom and I had this network up and running. We were very excited about this. So this is a good choice.
We forgot the gotcha. Everything was great until we tried to get.
Rich was the gotcha.
Until we tried to let a damn Canadian in on it. And we wanted VE3KI to come in, and that's where we learned about Evict, because we had already had too many computers, so we had to evict somebody to let Richard in, and then his didn't work, and we saw fail on the send and receive. And luckily, in the nick of time, I remembered that one of the things that can cause that is failing to allow incoming connections for the program. And once Richard went to the firewall and enabled incoming connections for N1MM logger.net.exe, then it configured flawlessly.
Yeah, and this is described in the documentation, but it left us scratching our heads there with that Canadian tried to get in.
Right, we had just spent a couple hours trying to get this to work, and it was working great. And then Richard came along, and it was terrible.
I've had him on soft ether before, so yeah. He's a troublemaker.
Got a question if you have a second.
I've got a question too.
Okay. Yeah, the whole business of networking is pretty foreign to me, but I have used this in the past, but a very distant past. Is there anything that I need to know about in terms of port forwarding?
Yes, you need to know you don't need it.
Thank you so much.
That's what this was all about, trying to avoid having you try to set up port forwarding, because it's very non-intuitive. It's so bad that when you have two computers in one site, you have to actually change the ports when you forward one of them. And that just confused people to no end. So with this, it just configures itself.
But it's worse than that, because what you'll soon discover is that if you have a club of 10 members, every one of those members owns a different brand of router in their house. And you have to figure out port forwarding on each of the 10 brands, and it's all different. I mean, it's really difficult. That's why I'm so excited about this capability, because it removes all of that mess.
Oh yeah, that port forwarding is a nightmare, and I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Sure.
Another
I've got
question.
a question. This is
Bill, go first.
Okay. You mentioned that the IT fellow, whoever that happens to be, should initially set this up. Is that correct?
Yes.
The host? All right, can you explain to me in a layman's term what that consists of?
Basically following directions from the LogMeIn Hamachi website on how to set up a network.
Okay, so the hosting is actually on their
No. The definition of the hosting is on theirs. There is no hosting. This is a mesh network. Now, if you wanted to set up another kind of network, you could, but this is everybody talking to everybody directly.
Okay, that's what you meant by mesh. All right.
Yes.
Okay, so
They give you like 3 options for networking, and the one we chose was mesh.
okay, if you didn't have any experience before with a mesh network, is it doable for, which I don't, would it be doable for me to be able to go up there and read those instructions and then understand what we need to do?
Probably.
Okay.
But you know, I don't know you, and I don't know your capabilities, and whether you can follow directions and have a sense of what's trying to be accomplished here. What's trying to be accomplished is they want to host on their servers the name of the network, the credentials for the network, how you log into it, and who owns the network. And then each user, including you, logs into that network to use it.
All right, and they explain how to do that then?
They do.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you.
Okay, there was somebody else who wanted a question at the same time as Bill.
Yes.
Yeah, this is KU7T. I have a question for you. Thanks. Very good presentation, by the way.
Is it LogMind or is it LogMeIn?
Yep.
Yeah. What happens with the logs? Are they automatically synced? And especially in the case where you have, let's say, only 5 users active in the list and you need to kick someone out and add another person, what will happen with the QSOs and the log?
There's a certain amount of automacity now, automation that is there, and I think that the detection is if somebody comes in and has QSOs from a long time ago, it tries to catch up. That doesn't always work. There is a way for any user on the network to say to every user on the network, sync with me. The cardinal rule of networking with N1MM Plus is that each computer name is the book of record for the QSOs logged on that computer. Never, never, ever substitute a new computer with the same name. Because what will happen is the new computer has no QSOs. Therefore, every other computer should be removing all the QSOs logged by that computer prior to that. So always add a new computer with a new name, and then sync should work reasonably well.
Does one person need to sync and then all of them get synced, or will only that person?
There's an option to do either. There's a checkbox to the right of the, I'll show it to you.
It actually should resync when it comes on the network.
Yes,
Yeah.
but if you don't, there's a resynchronized tab here on the network status window. And if you click resync all stations, Larry, your 8300 has no QSOs, right?
Let me look at that. Let me check my log here. My log, I have two QSOs in the log, Tom, an LY3 and an HA3.
Okay, it picked them up automatically. So
yeah.
But if you click last 4 hours, it syncs each one of those.
Now, Tom, you may want to tell them about editing QSOs made by a computer that's no longer on the network.
No.
No, but you can't edit a QSO that was made by a computer that's no longer on the network.
I thought you could only edit your own QSOs.
You want to edit that QSO, the computer.
All right, if we're going to delve in here, when computers are on the network, a couple of years ago, we started allowing you to edit the QSOs either via control Q or via editing the log directly, and that will be propagated to all the other stations. However, we do not allow that if the master station for that QSO, the master station for the QSO is the one that it was logged on, is not online. And if he's not online, then you're not allowed to do it. The reason being is you have to say to the one that's logged on, I know you logged this as zone 15, but it's really zone 14, and I want you to accept zone 14 as the correct zone in your book of records. And then when other people try to sync to you, sync 14 rather than 15. That's why there's that restriction. And that's why I didn't want to get into it.
Well, and actually that's why $50 is a whole heck of a lot better than letting people on and off the network and only having 5 at a time. So spend the $50, folks, because we could go down this rat hole for hours and describe how this works.
Yeah, that's why I kind of asked. So it's basically, if you have more than 5, just have them all connected for the whole contest and be connected and running with N1MM, right?
Exactly.
Just leave it up.
Yep.
I've got a non-technical question. This is Bill.
Okay, Bill.
Okay.
You're in charge of that.
Okay. So you have everything set up. You have 5 people that are distributed on the network, and they're operating. How do you communicate back and forth to each other? Do you use the N1MM messaging? Is that probably the most practical way?
I would think. You could use partner mode, but I won't go into that. Let's see. Larry, can you send me a talk message?
No.
Control E.
Tom, Maybe you should send one to me and I'll answer it because I don't do that.
Okay, then you have to share.
All right.
And I have to figure out how I have to minimize. There we go.
Okay, here we go. So I want to share. I want that screen. I can get rid of some of this stuff. Let's see. Close that. There's my network status window. There's my log. Okay, so here's, oops. Here we go. So this is Tom sending me a message and saying, and I can reply to Tom misspelled, and that message showed up. So across the VPN, you have all of the capabilities, the chat feature, the message feature that you have in a local area network environment. So that is a way you could communicate. You could also use any out-of-band feature. You could Zoom between your stations. You could have Skype up and running, but the chat message is in there, and you can chat across the VPN just like you could if you were all assembled, you know, at Craig's place in at K3CT.
Hey, John, K3CT, how do I pass?
Control Z sets your pass frequency.
Control Z?
Yeah. And you can right click on the band you want to pass the station to. And it'll appear in Larry's band map.
EQ will set me a...
You guys need to go on different bands.
Yeah, I don't have a radio connected to this.
Just type in a frequency, 21025. Both go on CW. It's are you both using the same contest?
Yes.
Okay.
Tom could also, if it passed me his spectrum window, and I could be displaying his spectrum window here as well. And there's lots of neat capabilities.
Hey, John, oh.
The one thing that needs coordination is the telnet, because that's going to be shared by everyone, right?
Yes.
Yes. So the master station is the telnet, is a different type of host, and that's the host for telnet spots.
Okay, but we're drifting into a generic N1MM plus networking discussion. And
well, I have a question. Then what are the practical considerations as some of these folks are going to have computers dropping in, dropping out? They have to know who the master station is and know if it goes offline, why they're not getting spots anymore if they had it set up. So what do you folks do, or what do you recommend?
Don't do that.
Tom, what happens if your power goes out or you lose your internet connection? What happens to the whole Hamachi network?
The ones that are still up are still up. That's why you're using a mesh network.
Yeah, Tom can drop out of the network and the network remains.
So it's not all passing through your host?
No, it's all peer-to-peer.
Peer-to-peer, everybody to everybody.
And the logs are at every station for just that reason. And the log for the station is, remember, the log for Ryzen is all the queues that are made on Ryzen. The log for laptop, N1MM laptop, is all the queues that are made for N1MM laptop. And so when you come back up and you synchronize, those queues from N1MM laptop, when he comes back online, are sent to everybody else in the network.
And if the master telnet station drops offline, one of the other stations can just click on that it wants to be the master for telnet.
Yeah, the master is an often misunderstood thing, and you have it right. It's the master for telnet. It's a master for time sync. So if you start up your non-masters in admin mode, the master station can impose its clock on your other stations. Or you could just keep them correct by connecting to a time standard. But people hear master and they think that it's a master slave or a centralized database or a central network of some sort. It is not. All that it means is that telnet is happening in one spot and it's being distributed to the other ones. And the reason we did that was to protect the clusters from having, 10 stations connecting to it to serve one multi-multi.
Comments?
And it also means that if you filter out, the filter does not apply. The filter does not apply to sending. If you filter at the cluster on the master, that will happen. That filtration will happen for all the stations. Otherwise, no filtration happens until it gets to the other stations.
Comments?
Who's that?
As the Hamachi host, you only defined the network. It's not being supervised through your computer. In other words, like you said, it's a mesh. All of the clients are all connected to each other. It's not dependent on you. You just set up the definition for it. Is that right?
That is correct.
A comment, please. This is Tom, the before IE. When I was setting up N1MM earlier, the small piece was missing. I think somebody might have caught it already. When you do file open log, and then the operator, it has, I think it's an individual, MultiOp. It was missing multi-multi.
No, it's not.
Oh,
No.
you fixed it.
No,
No.
you were misreading. There's multi-operator and single operator, and in Cabrillo 3.0, which is what DQWW uses, you specify the number of transmitters in your multi-op, and that can be 1, 2, or more than 2.
Oh, okay, so that takes care of it.
So
Okay.
you just specify multi-op and many transmitters. I want to share the screen again. And can you see this mesh network here?
Yep.
These are your 3 choices for Hamachi. We would suggest that you use mesh, and that's what they default to. And you can see in the mesh that everybody talks to everybody. And that's what we're going to try to do, whether you pick any of these. It's just you're going to force stuff to go through some sort of network gateway or hub and spoke gateway before you achieve mesh. Because what we're trying to achieve is everybody gets every QSO and logs it so that we have redundancy when one of the stations goes down or whatever. So, that help?
Okay.
Tom, the discovery packets are UDP?
Yes. That's why they don't cross the subnet.
Right.
There'll be a quiz at the end. Everybody needs to know what a subnet is. That's a joke.
I give up.
Okay, if there are no more questions.
I have 2 comments though
Okay.
from today's questions on the reflector. Please do not post something went wrong and I have the RTE, but I'd like you to tell me what went wrong without telling you what the RTE is, the data that you got. And the second one is don't hijack threads, because both of those happened today. It was very frustrating.
Thank you for your time. This is excellent.
Good, good. What subjects do you want to hear future ones of these on?
How to win a contest would be good.
Okay. We've done that twice. Once I think we've done that.
Yeah, just moved to the Northeast.
There you go.
See?
Unless you want to win sweepstakes.
Just run the
Maybe
Northeast remotely.
Then move to
Maybe
Puerto Rico.
something on some of the more advanced interfacing, like hooking up those various foot switches and some of the real esoteric stuff.
Oh, we'll leave that to John. K3CT.
Where is John? There he is. There's John.
He's laughing.
Yep.
Tom, this is Larry in Mississippi, and I'd like to say that This has been very informative. However, it's the most exciting thing about it is what I see on the wall behind me.
The wall behind me, my grandchildren.
That's far more important, isn't it?
Just ask Stephanie.
Yeah. Well, we don't get to see those for the next month or two because they're little germ carriers. I imagine everybody's dealing with that.
Tom came over to my house and my grandson gave him all sorts of stuff.
I still have that cold. I still have it. Oh, his nose was running and he's wiping it on my phone and oh, it's awful.
Yeah, and he was smiling and enjoying it.
Oh, he was.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. What
Thank
a
you.
great, it's been a great Zoom meeting. And God, you guys did a great job. Thanks. And I'm going to try to put some of this to work.
I welcome your feedback. You know, success stories and even the other kind. Let me hear about it.
I got plenty of the other kind.
Thank you very much, Tom.
All right,
Good
73.
to see a lot of faces you see on the air. Yeah, thanks, Tom. Thanks to you guys.
Thank you. 73.